So, well, let's do two films. So, firstly, let's do Heli. So, Heli is a Mexican film by Matt Escalante.
How are you spelling that, by the way?
Heli, which is the name of the central character. This is directed. This won the award for Best Director at Cannes at the 2013 Film Festival, at the same year that Janka's A Touch of Sin won the award for Best Screenplay. We talked about that film last week, which was kind of a state of the nation portrait of modern China as a place of many problems. It pales into insignificance on the problem alongside this portrayal of Mexico. Central character Heli is a young man who lives in a house with his wife, his baby, his father, and his young sister. His young sister is sneaking out from school to have a relationship with a cadet who is more boy than man, and the cadet ends up stashing some drugs in their house, and the next thing you know, everything becomes hellishly awful. It is a film which portrays a very, very bleak picture of modern Mexican society. When it played in Cannes, it became something of a cause célèbre because there are scenes of torture and violence in it that are really extremely confrontational. One of them, centrally, the one that has become most notorious, I have to say, walks a sort of line between, it becomes almost distractingly explicit in a particular act of violence. But what the film does is, more than just being an incredibly nihilistic portrait, which it is, it does also, underneath it, have something else about the resilience of the central characters. It is, on one level, a terribly tragic and deeply depressing portrait of a world in which childhood has effectively been obliterated, in which it's people old before their age, not in the leering kind of Larry Clark way, but in a sort of bleak, desolate wasteland way. And yet there is, beyond that, something in Heli's character and the character of the family with whom he lives, so his family, that actually starts to achieve something that gets towards transcendence. Now, having said that, when I was watching the film, I found it a very, very tough watch. I found it uncomfortable. I found it, sometimes you had to look away. Sometimes it was almost intolerable, deeply sort of grim and depressing. Very, I have to say, very well done, efficiently done, as in you're convinced by the drama. When it first played in Cannes last year, there were some reviews that said it is just nihilistic. I think it is more than that, but it's significant that coming to that was something that really happened after the screening. Thinking about the movie and, noting down my thoughts about it, I realised that I had liked it more than I thought whilst I was watching it, because watching it is a very, very tough experience, and I think there's no question that it's going to be too tough for some people. But as a sort of portrait of, almost like a modern-day hell on earth, it's very well constructed, and it does have, I think, underneath it all, a heart, in as much as there is a resilience of the characters at the sharp end of all this chaos, at the sharp end of all this. I mean, it's a world in which when people turn up at the door armed to the teeth, you have no idea whether they're police, whether they're soldiers, whether they're crooks, whether they're criminals. There's one sequence in which we see the authorities burning a huge stash of drugs and pirated DVDs to restore public confidence in the authorities. And believe me, you'll come out of it with no confidence in them whatsoever. As I said, probably too tough for many people, and it's certainly divided people, but I think there is underneath it a moral and ethical purpose. But that comes after the film itself, which is a very tough watch.